Hello, welcome to our RecapPlus channel with me, Matthew. Today we will watch a recap movie called The Commuter, released in 2018. This is a spoiler content video. So please turn on the subtitle and let's start the story. Every day, Michael Macaulay follows the same routine before heading to his daily commute. He spends time with his wife, Karen, and their son, Danny, helping Danny with his literature assignments. Afterward, Karen gives him a lift. They discuss tuition expenses and hope they can manage the payments. Karen drops him off at the train station, where he catches the train to work. Mike frequently engages in conversations with other regular commuters, like Wall. Mike works as a life insurance salesman. However, on this particular day, Mike's boss calls him into his office to inform him that he is being laid off after 10 years of service. Despite Mike's arguments, including the fact that he has 2 mortgages, his son is going to college, and he has 5 years until retirement, Mike is fired. Everything becomes muddled for him. He and Karen are living hand to mouth, and he does not know what to do next. Mike gets a call from Karen, who asks him about the upcoming payments and how his day went. He avoids telling her about his layoff. He decides to visit a bar, where he meets his longtime friend, Officer Alex Murphy, who was also Mike's former partner during his time as a detective. As they chat, the TV runs a report about a city planner who allegedly threw himself to his death a few nights earlier. They also find out that a former colleague they dislike, Dave Hawthorne, has become a captain. Before leaving, Alex and Mike share their motto, "Doing the right thing will get you killed." At the station, there is a bag check, and Mike notices a man on the phone saying he can't do it. Meanwhile, one of the regular commuters complains about the situation. Just as he boards the train, a man crashes into him, and things take a turn for the worse. Inside the train, Mike realizes his phone is missing. He overhears a man talking on the phone about something significant happening tonight. A distressed Hispanic woman is in one of the cars, and the air conditioning is off. A girl is arguing with a boy who is trying to hit her, and a well-dressed man is loudly bragging about his expensive suit. When a girl asks him to keep it down, he criticizes her 99-cent perfume, prompting her to change seats. Mike finally finds a seat and is joined by a woman named Joanna. After a brief and friendly conversation, Joanna tells Mike about a compartment on the train with $25,000 in it, along with another $75,000 in cash. She tells him he can have it as long as he helps identify someone on the train who doesn't belong there. This person is carrying a bag with something stolen, and they go by the name Print Friend. Joanna implies that she knows Mike is a former cop and warns him not to tell anyone what he just heard. Taken aback, Mike looks in the designated compartment and finds the money. As he contemplates leaving the train with the $25,000, a young woman stops him and tries to claim the money. Despite her efforts, Mike decides to keep it for himself. The woman then hands Mike an envelope and tells him it's a warning. He opens the envelope and finds Karen's wedding ring inside. Having lost his own phone, Mike borrows the phone of another commuter, Tony. Mike also finds Walton and asks him for his paper. He quickly writes Walton a note to call the police, explaining that his family is in danger, while the man stares at him from behind. He leaves the note with the paper and tries to call Karen but cannot reach her. As Walton leaves the train, Mike notices a man he had seen earlier boarding the train rush in with a bag. Joanna calls Mike, drawing his attention out the window. He sees Walton about to cross the street to talk to the cops, but someone working with Joanna pushes Walton into the path of a bus, killing him. She warns Mike that this is exactly what will happen if he tries to make a run for it. Joanna instructs Mike to find Print in a bag they are holding and put a tracking device on the bag. Mike returns the borrowed phone to Tony and checks the destination zone for Cold Spring, which is Zone 7, and searches for a stamp indicating Zone 7. He marks all the people going to Zone 7, including a man in a red shirt, a vacant seat, a Hispanic woman, an African American man, a girl with colored hair, and the stockbroker. Mike approaches the stockbroker, whom he has never seen on the train before, even though his ticket is marked for Zone 7. The stockbroker questions why Mike thinks he is going to Cold Springs and makes derogatory remarks about his financial status. In response, Mike gives him the middle finger and shifts his attention to the girl. He starts a conversation with her, but she excuses herself. Mike follows her and grabs her bag, discovering that she's carrying fake IDs for her boyfriend. Mike notices a sign that gives him an idea. He approaches a conductor and points out a few people he finds suspicious, suggesting that they search the bags of everyone going to Cold Spring. The conductor approaches the Hispanic woman and attempts to check her bag under the pretense of a security check. A scuffle ensues, and Mike once again notices the tattooed man from the first stop, who is also headed to Cold Springs. Mike follows the tattooed man, who attacks him in the next car for following him. When Mike mentions Prin, the man becomes suspicious, and they continue to fight. Mike eventually lets him win so he can slip the tracker into the man's bag. Thinking the job is done, he finally allows himself a breather. Tony receives a call, and Mike quickly figures out that the call is for him. He answers it, and it's Alex. Alex assures him that he sent some agents to his house to check on his family. Mike proceeds to tell Alex the whole story about Prin, the $100,000, and Walton's death, emphasizing that his family is being threatened. Alex mentions that a witness using Prin's name claims to have seen two men throw a city official to his death. This revelation makes Mike realize that Prin is going to be killed, and he is being set up. As the train enters a tunnel, the call is interrupted. People start noticing Mike walking between cars, and their nervousness becomes palpable. He opens the bag that the tattooed man had in the empty car, and it's filled with his belongings and a missing gun. Suddenly, he hears a phone ring and discovers the body of the tattooed man wearing a badge that reveals he is an FBI agent. Mike answers the phone, and it's Joanna. She accuses him of identifying the wrong person and being responsible for another man's death. Concerned about his family's well-being, Mike asks, and she assures him that everything will be okay as long as he does his part. Joanna activates the microphone on Karen's phone, and he listens as a man comes over to their house, claiming to be there on behalf of Mike. Joanna interrupts the transmission and instructs him not to leave the train, not to get caught. The train is stopped for an investigation, as some passengers have warned the authorities about Mike's suspicious activities on the train. Mike hides with the body while the police clear the cars. He attempts to open the door but cannot, so he crawls down, only for the train to start moving again. He manages to jump back on the train, but his bag gets stuck, causing all the money to fly out except for $100. Joanna calls again, informing him that it's 2 more stops until Cold Springs, and he must stay focused. Desperate, Mike turns off the AC in all the cars except the last one, causing all passengers to move to the last car. He meets with a man in a red shirt and Tony for a card game. He asks the man in the red shirt why he's on the train but is rebuffed. Mike raises his voice and talks throughout the car about being fired and not having the heart to tell his wife. He then discusses a hypothetical scenario involving a passenger who doesn't belong on the train, carrying a bag and a reward, similar to what Joanna told him. When asked by Tony what he would do, Mike suggested that he would gather all the people still on the train in one car and propose that very scenario. Tony corrects himself and asks if Mike would take the money, to which Mike admits that he already did. He suspects that 5 commuters might be Prin since he's never seen them on the train before. After realizing that the man playing cards with Tony is a monthly commuter, Mike follows a guitarist named Oliver into the empty car. However, Oliver turns out not to be Prin but an assassin working with Joanna, sent to kill Prin. Mike fights with him for a while until they break a window. Oliver attempts to push Mike out, but Mike gains the upper hand and throws Oliver out of the moving train. Joanna calls him again and instructs him to take the gun. The man in the fancy suit leaves one stop before Cold Springs, narrowing it down to 2 suspects. He's already crossed off the girl with colorful hair. He sits down across from Eva, the Hispanic woman, who keeps receiving messages on her phone. Mike questions her about why she's going to Cold Springs, but she dismisses him. In a desperate move, he takes her phone, suspecting she's contacting Joanna, and holds her at gunpoint to get her to tell the truth. Terrified, Eva admits that she had a fight with her boyfriend and was trying to make up with him. Mike apologizes after realizing she's telling the truth. Slowly, Mike begins to realize that Prin isn't anyone he previously suspected. He remembers a young woman changing seats on the way to Cold Springs after sitting next to an obnoxious passenger. He approaches her, but she doesn't realize what's happening because she's been listening to music the whole time. Her name is Sophia, and Prin comes from her reading of The Scarlet Letter and its protagonist, Hester Prynne. Joanna calls him again, demanding that he kill Sophia or give her up. Mike refuses, and Joanna reveals that she works for very powerful people. With Mike continuing to decline, she declares that now everyone will die. In a desperate bid for survival, Mike asks one of the conductors, Sam, to stop the train. He pulls the brake, but the brakes explode, and the train continues on, passing the 2 FBI agents at Cold Spring. The engineer is dead from the blow, and there's no way to stop the train. Mike and Sam try to unhinge their car from the rest of the train, and they manage to free the car but it's still attached by a chain. Mike jumps onto the other car, and Sam follows with an axe as they try to release the chain. The train begins to derail, and the front section crashes and goes airborne. At that moment, they release the chain, and Mike is thrown into the last car. Red Shirt, one of the passengers, pulls Mike into their car, which also derails but comes to a screeching and bumpy halt on the edge of a train yard. People are panicking and trying to get out. Mike gets their attention by firing his gun and telling them it's not over yet. He orders everyone to grab a newspaper and spray the windows with water to cover them. After everyone calms down, Mike asks Sophia what she might have that the villains want. She pulls out some sort of flash drive containing information about the city planner, a friend of Sophia's who had known about it. Sophia also mentions that she couldn't go to the police because the killers were cops. She admits to seeing one of them and that he said something about being noble. Mike inquires further, and Sophia reveals that the only person she told about it is Agent Garcia. The police then arrive outside, believing that Mike has taken the passengers hostage. His former colleague, Dave, is there, using a loudspeaker to tell him to surrender. While Mike calms everyone down, Alex shows up and tries to calm Mike. Mike helps a large group of passengers exit, leaving a few behind after getting rid of a wire. Dave asks him to follow the blue-tagged individual on the train. Mike tries to get Alex to tell him what he knows about the conspiracy. Alex mentions the phrase "there's no such thing as noble." Sophia's earlier hint about Alex's involvement in the scheme clued Mike in, but initially, Alex denies any involvement. However, he later admits to setting Mike up, claiming he knew Mike needed the money. Alex suggests that Mike surrender if he wants to see his family alive again. In a tense moment, Mike gives up his gun, realizing that Alex also has his family to worry about. As they search for Prin, Sophia attempts to reveal herself, but other passengers start claiming to be Prin as well, creating confusion. Mike and Alex then engage in a physical confrontation. While outside, the police attempt to get a clear shot at Mike. Dave orders the snipers to take the shot, killing Alex. The SWAT team then storms in. Agent Garcia enters the scene and informs Mike that his family is safe and that they arrested 3 men outside his house. Sophia meets with FBI agents and provides a witness statement. The other passengers consider Mike a hero. He is joyously reunited with his family, returns his wife's wedding ring, and has a conversation with Dave. Dave suggests inviting Mike back to his old job as a detective. Sometime later, Michael is back on the train and manages to find Joanna. Although she pretends not to know him, he suspects that she played a role in ensuring he was fired and that she manipulated the situation with Sophia and Alex. When Joanna asks him how he thinks things will turn out, Michael simply pulls out his detective badge, hinting that he's not finished investigating the mysterious events that unfolded during that fateful train ride. To watch more video like this, click on the videos on your screen, and don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last I will say, stay safe and stay healthy. See you next videos.